In 2013, I weighed 350 pounds. Today, I maintain around 250 pounds year round. I'm going to show you guys exactly what worked, what my process was, and what didn't work. I want to give you the real truth about sustainable weight loss. This is my story. So I want to break this video down into a few parts for you today. We're going to do the intro. We're going to do phase one, which was basically 2013 to 2017. Phase two was my decision to start losing weight. Phase three was the process that I went through. Phase four, I'll show you all the results. And then at the end, we'll just wrap it up with some key lessons and insights. So when I graduated high school at the end of 2012, by the time 2013 had hit, I was the heaviest I had ever been. I was pushing right around 355, 360 pounds. All through high school and middle school, I got bullied a lot, especially because I'm a very tall guy. I'm just over 6'10". And so being a big guy and a tall guy would be a super easy target, I guess. And I only ever really had one friend in high school, and he's still a good friend of mine to this day. So if you're listening, George, shout out to you. I started getting heavy probably early middle school, maybe grade 6 or so. And I stayed heavy and I grew pretty rapidly all the way up until high school. Basically, I was a fat kid and I was a tall kid. So after high school, I started working at a local Walmart. I never played football before, actually, and a football coach approached me while I was working and asked if I wanted to play. Kind of hum and hawed about it for the first little while, and then I decided to give it a try. Honestly, my first season, I wasn't really fully committed. I played like a few games. I showed up for a few games, went to a few practices. Just didn't really know if I wanted to do it. I didn't really have any sense of purpose at that point or direction of where I was going with anything. But for some reason in my mind, the next season, I decided to just go all in. So I went to every practice, played every game, traveled with the team. And that's kind of when like the things in my mind and the mindset I had started to shift. Fast forward, I played out the next 3 seasons, and that took me to the end of 2016. I wasn't the best football player by any means, but the thing that I got the most from football that I still carry with me with this day is the work ethic and the discipline to be able to get on a task and stay on it until it's complete, I guess. And that was hands down the greatest thing I ever learned from all my coaches and teammates when I was playing football. So at the end of 2016, I got a scholarship to play at a university in Halifax, Nova Scotia, here in Canada. So I flew out. I played the first preseason game actually after camp, and I ended up tearing my MCL. And it wasn't a bad tear, but it was basically enough to put me out for 8 weeks. And the season started the following week, and the football season in Canada university is only 8 games. So I was gonna miss at least 6 games if I came back early and could still play. So at that point, I just decided to pack up my shit and head home. At the time, it kind of sucked, but in retrospect, I think I had gotten everything that I needed from football. And, football was probably just done with me. And it was probably kind of a blessing in disguise to be done at that time. And so I guess this was kind of the point where we hit the decision. And this was the pivotal point in my life where I had tried 6 times prior to lose weight, and I fell off every single time. I would do a few weeks here, a month here, lose a few pounds, and then just completely give up and lose hope for whatever reason, right? But for some reason in my head, this time was different, and this was the time that I was going to go all in. I was lucky enough where I was home from school, still living with my parents, and just had a lot of time on my hands. I was attending like 2 or 3 classes at some local university. Just dedicated all my time to learning as much as I could about health and nutrition, and just really ensuring that I could put myself in a position to lose this weight. I did some research and I decided to fully commit to intermittent fasting and doing the ketogenic diet. I like to say I did keto before it was cool because we didn't have all these keto snacks, nothing. No one was really doing it. It was very early on. And in Canada, we do not have access to a lot of the stuff they have in the States. So it was basically like create your own peanut butter cups and eat beef and avocado. The process, what did I do? So every week I would hike 3 times a week. There's a local hill close to us. It's about a kilometer, mile up, mile down. And I would gym 3 times a week pretty consistently. I would fast every single day. And I was eating in like 1,000 calorie deficit when I first started, which I would not recommend. But if you can do it, you will be hungry, but you will lose weight very quickly. So that is what I did. So starting this journey at about 330 pounds at this point, I lost 20 pounds the first month, 15 pounds the second, and then it started to slow down a bit. It took me 8 months to lose basically 80 pounds and go down from 330 pounds to 250 pounds. 250 was the goal that I had set for myself. And even though I didn't know much about how much I should weigh, I think it's a pretty good goal because I still walk around at 250 to this day. And being 6'10", it's a really good weight for me. I feel good. I don't feel like I'm starving. I feel strong, and yeah, I'm just happy at this weight. At this point, I've gotten to the best shape I'd ever been. Over the next kind of year, I kind of put on a little bit more lean muscle and dropped a little bit more fat and kind of evened out right around 245. And this was by far the best shape I had ever been. This was 2019 to 2021 in that neighborhood. And with these kinds of results, a lot of people don't realize that a lot of the work is maintaining the weight and keeping that weight off. You kind of have to be in that calorie deficit and find your new maintenance and stay at that level and continue to exercise until you can make that adjustment metabolically where your body is more comfortable at that weight. And so now it's been 6 years since I lost that weight, and I make sure I eat around my maintenance calories or just in a slight deficit pretty much year round. Something that's not talked about enough, I don't think either, is when people lose a lot of weight, a lot of the time you kind of have this weird imposter syndrome about you where you still feel like you're overweight and you're fat, and you do whatever you can to not put it back on. And it's kind of like a form of body dysmorphia. And I would say that I definitely have that. A lot of people that know me probably notice, like, I lift up my shirt and kind of look at myself quite often just to see. Just even if I'm bloated, it kind of like tweaks me out a little bit because I'm just like, oh, I'm putting weight back on, putting weight back on. And that's just a psychological thing. That's something that I hope I will get over with time. But you can definitely have that effect if you go through a big weight loss. So just keep in mind that if that's you, that's normal. I have it too. It's just something that you kind of have to, I guess, work around in a way. And so with the results, I waited 5 years to see how much loose skin I would lose. And I didn't lose as much as I would have liked. And I didn't lose as much as I would have liked. So what I ended up doing was I actually had a skin removal surgery. So they took skin from like my midsection around like where my belt sits and some from my chest. And I lost about 6 pounds of skin from that surgery. Now, this was just a personal choice. I hummed and hawed about it for a long time. And I just felt like with all the work that I put in, this is something that I wanted to do. In retrospect, I'm glad I did it. It was quite the recovery. I won't lie, it was a lot more than I had anticipated. But yeah, now I have just kind of like a permanent scar that sits underneath where my belt is. And yeah, so if you've ever been thinking or considering that, that's always an option as well if you're worried about loose skin. Again, I'm not a doctor. I wouldn't recommend either way, but that's what I did. And so some of the key lessons that I got from this. Biggest thing is losing weight is 80% nutrition, 20% exercise. You will never outtrain a bad diet. You will never outrun a bad meal. You just simply have to be on it with your nutrition and be consistent. And that is how you get to a weight loss goal. Diet flexibility and something that I like to call the nutrition mastery blueprint. I think this is the best approach to sustainable dieting, where it's just you take the food you're already eating, you take the food you love, and you find lower calorie options. You don't want to change out your whole fridge. You don't want to eat a gazillion vegetables and nothing else. You just want to stick with what you know, stick with what you enjoy. Humans are strange that way. We're creatures of habit. We don't like to change. So if you can just reduce your calories, you can lose weight. And then the last thing is you're going to hit plateaus and you're going to hit times of doubt. You're going to have days where you want to say, fuck it. You're going to have meals where you feel like you're defeated, or even weeks where the scale won't move. But ultimately, you have to pan out and look at it as a broad spectrum. You're doing this over months and months and months, especially if you have like 100 pounds to lose. So it's okay if you have little setbacks here and there. You just have to keep going. Something that I truly believe in is you can't fail if you don't quit. Things are going to get tough. You're going to have points where you feel like quitting, but as long as you don't quit, you will succeed. And so the current approach I use today to just kind of maintain my weight and stay healthy is I go to the gym 3 to 4 times a week. I usually walk about 10,000 steps a day. I eat about 2,900 calories a day for my size. That's a pretty good maintenance. And that's pretty much it. Other than that, I have beers on the weekends. I go out for meals with friends. I kind of do all that stuff, right? If I can give you any words of encouragement, it would be to just start. If you're thinking about it, just start. Just do something. Start walking 10,000 steps a day. Start fasting in the morning. Skip breakfast. Start reducing your calories. Don't eat after 8 o'clock. Just do something to get the ball rolling. Because the longer you think about it and the longer you say it's going to be next week, it's going to be next month, maybe this year, maybe in January, you're just putting off what you know you need to do. So just start and you will make progress. I appreciate you guys watching this.